Well, good morning. So tomorrow I'm going to have my niece home. So it's going to be the first time. Why is this important? Well, she had severe cases of diabetes, and so she was in a hospital for a bit. So it's going to be, well, a big responsibility, but she already does most of the things by herself. I've seen also things being done, and in the end of the day, it's just going to be a normal function for the rest of her life, at least until she gets the insulin pump. So already prepared a day of activities for her. So she's very creative. So I'm getting to her to be the director of the movie that she wants, and she gets to do the premiere at night. So it's going to be fun. I also have promised her to teach her how to cook something. So I'll have to see what. Maybe pizza, always nice and fun to do. Or maybe something in the wok. I'll have to see. Start with something small and then probably go to a more, I say, complicated dish. I don't know, like a lasagna or a moussaka, something like that she also likes. And that's it. So today I'm park. I don't know the name of the park. There's Urban Park of Queluz, probably most near thing to the name. And so beside me, these are the well, my English is not really good today, but it's a place where they keep the horses. So this is the side of the Queluz National Palace. I'm going to go in front of it in a while. You get to see it. Yeah. So actually in this palace, the first emperor of Brazil was born. So as the story goes, the royal family escaped to Brazil, and when, well, because of the Napoleonic invasions, and the locals enticed, I think, the Pedro to be the first emperor of Brazil, and he became the emperor, and then actually he came to Portugal again. But yeah, maybe for another time I'll tell the full story. But one of the funny things was during the trip from Lisbon to Brazil. So they got lice on their hair, and so they had to shave their heads, even the women. So what happened was, when they arrived, so the locals were all very, let's say, they were waiting to see how the fashion of the European courts, which at the time was the height of the heights. And so when they saw like all the queen and the princesses and all, and the court ladies all with their heads shaved, they start shaving their head because they thought it was the high fashion in Europe at the time. Funny how times change, but some things never change. So today, well, not much to talk about. So at 1 a.m., at least here in Portugal, there will be the Packers against the Commanders. I normally don't stay up that late, so I'll probably only see the game after. I already talked about the game, so maybe I'll just do a quick 101 of the NFL positions, because I have some friends which I'm helping for them to get to see and learn and enjoy the NFL. I already did, I think, several audios, so maybe I get to do a little bit of video that I can then point to them when they have further questions, because I've explained them the positions and probably some they have already forgotten, because it was during the summer and there was not a lot of games at the time, actually no games at the time, it was off season, and so some of them are now getting back to it. It's funny because they didn't have any teams, so and normally they go with either colors or other stuff. So had one guy chose the Eagles because they're green, another chose the Buccaneers because he likes pirates. He already has gear and he has watched several games of them, so have another who already follows NFL but is new in the group, and I think her main team is the 49ers, and she also likes the Eagles and she also likes the Bills. So and I'm trying to think. I think there's probably one or two who haven't picked the club yet, so we'll just have to wait and see what they choose. So what you can see in the background is the Queluz National Palace. So for most of my life it was pink, and then due to some, I don't know, it's called archaeology or research, they saw that it was blue, and so they painted blue. So most of the houses nearby, they're all painted pink. Some are still pink, others have been painted blue, and some just said, now we'll paint whatever we want. So, yeah. Depending on how tomorrow goes, I may bring my niece here. So it has some nice inside rooms. It was actually a summer palace, I'll say, National Palace. And it has a very nice gardens. So and then nearby there's also a military base, I think for the anti-aircraft division. And well, I think basically that is it. So let's just go with the position. So starting where most people at least look at these days, so offense. So the last year's rules have been made to make it easier to play offense and harder to play defense. So of course you get now a bigger attacking number, at least that was the hope. Sometimes you don't. So in offense you get the quarterback, so always called the most important position. Most of the stars, or at least the faces you get to see, are the quarterbacks. Why? Because they touch the ball every snap. So there could be some exceptions, but I think that's for a further, some explanation further ahead. So the quarterbacks normally get the ball either under center in shotgun or pistol, which is a little bit shorter. So they get the ball either by the lineman or further from the lineman. So either he gives out the ball or he throws the ball, so snaps the ball. That's why sometimes it's called why it's called a snap, to the quarterback. So shotgun is further from the lineman and pistol is like halfway from the lineman. So there's the the offensive line. The offensive line is the center, so the guy, well, also touches the ball every snap, but probably not as important as the quarterback, but very important because he has to snap the ball and block. So normally a weak point, or at least a weaker point in the line most of the time. So if you have a very good center, it will really help your team. So both sides of the center, there's the guards, and both sides of the guards you have the tackles. So you have the center, have guards, tackles. So left guard, left tackle, right tackle. So normally the way that the quarterback picks the ball to throw, he will turn sideways. And so turning sideways makes it that he will not see as well, or not at all, to the side opposite of his dominant arm. So most quarterbacks are right-handed, so that means that the blind side is normally to their left. Of course, there are also some left-handed quarterbacks, and the blind side to them will be the right side. So normally the tackle to that side will be one of the most important positions and be paid accordingly. So as you can see, it starts getting a little complex in some regards, but the positions are relatively easy. So by the rules, you need to have seven players at least on the line, and no more than 4 on the backfield. So let me just check now. So you have also the wide receivers, who are normally either on the line or a little bit back, and you have the tight ends. So normally those are the players that are also on the line. This line is the imaginary line that crosses perpendicularly the field where the ball is about to be snapped. So and you also have the tight ends, called that because they are really by the line. Sometimes you can hear about like the flankers, the split ends, the slot receivers. So slot receiver is normally if you have a player who is between the line, or a tight end, and another receiver. So that called like in a slot, so they call a slot receiver. The split end would be a receiver who is on normally the strong side of the formation, so on the side of the tight end, and a bit more closer to the line. And when you have the guys who are all the way almost near the sideline, these are called the flankers. So now on the backfield, apart from the quarterback, we will have also the halfback, so the running back, which is it's called halfback because it was half distance, like from the line, and fullback, so which are normally is mainly a blocking position. So they start back, so they can just run straight ahead, while the quarterback hands the ball to the running back, and then the fullback, already with momentum, will hit the hole and try to take out normally a linebacker, so that the running back can hopefully get through without being touched. So the quarterback can also pass. Normally there's 5 players who are eligible to receive the pass. So normally the wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. So what may happen is that a player may declare himself eligible or ineligible to receive the pass. There's been some confusion because sometimes they have to do a gesture toward the referee. So sometimes you get like an extra lineman, like when you went to, in certain situations near the goal line, or you just need a yard or 2, you get an extra lineman. and that lineman or one of the linemen could just go and say that he's eligible to receive a pass. I think that's it in terms of the offense. So on the defense, you also have a line that's called a defensive line. So you have, depending on the formation you play, so normally you either have like 3 or 4 defensive linemen. It's, I think, very rare to have more. I don't quite know, but if it's happened, it's really rare. So what happens there is like you have normally a very big guy called the nose tackle. Some defenses don't really use a regular nose tackle. They just want to have penetrators, which then you can probably say that it uses defensive tackles. So normally, if you have 3 linemen, you have a nose tackle and the 2 defensive ends, one on each side. So the left defensive end and the right defensive end. So a nose tackle is a defensive tackle, but not all defensive tackles are nose tackles. So if you are watching a game, you can probably hear the term. So hopefully that clears up any confusion. So of course, normally if you have 4 on the line, you have 2 defensive tackles. One of them maybe or normally is a nose tackle. And the nose tackle are normally more central to the center. Okay, because so you have the alignments. So, for example, starting with the nose tackle, and then you'd have for one way or the other, depending on the strong side of the formation. So what happens here is, so if your center is just in front, if your nose tackle is right in front of the center, okay, it's called the zero alignment. Okay. And then you'll have the gaps, so the A gaps, which is both sides of the center, the B gaps, both sides of the guards, and so on. Sorry, never been to this part of the palace, and the ground is a bit, I would say, as you can see here, a bit of the gardens. So, the ground is not the easiest. Okay. So coming back to the alignments. So and then you have like the so that would be called, like, for example, a zero is a zero technique. So you can say normally those tackle will play as a zero technique or as a one technique. The difference, if you hear that talking about it, is the responsibilities of the gaps he has to cover. So, for example, a zero technique is a very rare player because since he's in front of the center, he needs to be able to cover both gaps, so both A gaps. So he has 2 responsibilities, which nowadays most systems or most players tend to be more sometimes specialized, but if you have one, it will free up more resources for the rest of the defense and make it harder for your opponent to run at you. So nowadays you'll have, especially in a 4 in the front, 1 tech and a 3 tech. But even so, even if you have just 3, normally you have like a 1 tech, and instead of a 4 tech, you have a 4 tech. Okay, so I'll have to count. Sorry, I don't know this by heart. So 0 is over the center, 2 is over the guard, and 4 is like in front of, not over, like in front of the tackle. So, as I said, you'd pick up a spot and then you'd go to the side, and then you decide like if he's on the inside or the outside of the guard or tackle, depending on you want to cover the strong side. As I said before, strong side is normally where the tight end is, or normally to the shorter part of the field, and you have like the long part of the field, normally you have your flanker there, and you want him to have more separation from the rest of the well, of the players, so he can try and run real fast and make himself available for a big play. So, and if someone wants to put a safety there, it will make your numbers game much better on the other side. So coming back, because I even said what the safety was. So you have the defensive linemen with their own alignment. So like 1 tech, 3 tech. That's probably the more normal positions that you hear for the defensive techs, and of course, for defensive tackles, and for defensive ends they will play outside of it. Of course, don't forget, if you have 3 linemen, those 2 defensive ends will be playing with more inside techniques. So if you hear them talking about a 1 technique, a 3 technique, a 4 technique, a 6 or 7, so you know that it's further away from the center. So behind them they have the linebackers. Normally the defenses, like in more of the old days, they would play 4-3s or 3-4s, so basically 3 linemen, 4 linebackers, or 4 linemen and 3 linebackers. Nowadays, with a lot of the college players and game being favoring the offense, so more wide receivers are on the field, which means that nowadays most of the teams take out the linebacker to put up an extra cornerback or even a safety. This could depend, because if you have very, very good, but they're very rare, linebackers that they can cover also very well. Sometimes some teams, but it's very rare, they play the base defense, because the cyclic way of football, passing was so far ahead, but now passing and running are coming back closer because the teams started to be smaller and faster, which means that certain teams that have a good running game also have very good returns. So I think it was like last year or the year before when the average result of a running play got very close or even beat, I don't know, I have to check that, the passing play. And it could also be because of that now. Smaller, lighter defenders because of the pass, and now if you run with bigger guys, they may be in some issues if they are not very good run defenders. Because to be a run defender, size matters, but it matters more your technique and your willingness to do it. Because it's a human being, he may have like a more 50 kilos, 100 pounds on you, but if you have the right technique and hit him at the right time in the leg or trip him up, he will fall. Harder to do? Yes, but still possible. So linebackers normally would be defined as middle linebackers and outside linebackers. So the middle linebackers would be the guys who had to stop the run, and you hear a lot like running downhill and hit him. So their job was basically run ahead and stop whatever player they face. Like if offensive linemen were to block him, they would probably have to be either strong enough or quick enough to avoid him and just go and make the tackle or the block. So, well, tackle, because normally block is when you are blocking someone so the other player can go free. So nowadays middle linebackers are very much attacked by the passing, so they need to be good at coverage. The ones who don't normally are quickly found out, and they have to have either protection or just play a small part of the field. Sometimes people now exchange, so maybe they have like a bigger linebacker that only plays on the running, or when the other team thinks you're going to run. But nowadays, if your linebackers can't cover, you'll be in a world of pain. Unless the other team sucks at passing, which happens with some teams. One of the reasons for it, for example, is there are sometimes short quarterbacks, and one of the things that, or why some teams or some fans don't like short cornerbacks, is that offensive lines tend to be really tall, like 6'4". I don't know how much 6'4" is, but if a guy is 6, he's shorter, as you can see. And what happens is he cannot see over his guys, and so most of them have very big difficulty passing in the middle. So defenses know, and so they just cover more on the outside, which means that it makes it easier for defenses. Like Drew Brees, probably the only guy I think that could play the whole field. He was really good at it, and so it did not help the defenses in those regards. So normally short quarterbacks, to be good, you need to be elite at one or two things and be good in general in the others, because you're already at a disadvantage, because most quarterbacks are big, like 6'4", so they can see over their offensive line, and so they can operate without any big issues. But if you're shorter, you'll have that issue, which makes it easier to defend against. So in the modern game, I think I already told you that they remove one linebacker. So outside linebackers would normally, you'll have would be like a weak side linebacker and a strong side linebacker. So strong side would be strong side of the formation, so tight end, shorter part of the field, and the weak side would have to be able normally to cover, so faster. Nowadays it's a bit not as direct as that, so I think teams probably would say they take the middle linebacker out and they play with two outside and linebackers, so linebackers that can cover, can blitz, and they can, how you say, one will probably be responsible for the middle, but sometimes his responsibilities are, well, not as pure as the middle linebacker, but he plays as the middle linebacker. So now after that, normally we have the safeties, which, as the name implies, are the last line of defense. So normally there's two, so like a free safety and a strong safety. Strong safety would be near the box, try to handle the run. Free safety would be behind, trying to see if no one passes over the top. Nowadays, since the nature of the game, teams have been, instead of having like a super specialized set of safeties, which probably like a more cheaper strong safety and a super expensive free safety, they are trying to go with two safeties that can either go to the box and cover. So because of the way that offenses have been favored, so now they are getting how you say, two up top to stop big plays, because there's misdirection, there's a lot of stuff. So now they try to get that and get some disguise. Some teams that actually have very good safety, sometimes they put the three safeties on the field. So it means that even if the other team wants to run, you don't need to sub out, or if they want to lock you in, because sometimes if you don't make a substitution, the other team cannot, or if they want to do it, they need to do it really fast or they be caught out. So some teams have that strategy, like have very good players on offense, and so they can try and get a favorite personnel on the field, like too small, or the other way around, too big and slow, and then they just go really fast and don't allow them to be a substitution. But, well, some more veteran teams fake an injury, so a guy needs to come out and you have time for substitution. That's part of the allure and highly strategic part of the American football. So safeties, and then you have the cornerbacks. So before, well, in the old days there to be two cornerbacks, now three is the norm. So that's why they remove linebacker, because teams have played more with three receivers. So you have the two cornerbacks, and normally you have the other, it's called the nickelback, normally to cover a slot receiver or a tight end. So if you have a very good nickel cornerback that can handle the run, cover tight ends, cover running backs coming out, so you probably don't need to change your defense. If you don't, they will try and put someone on that nickel back and force you either to move out and then have to deal with a linebacker covering a tight end or running back. So it's a chess match. And so I think those are all the positions. So sometimes you can hear, like, apart from the nickel back, you can have the dime back. So it's basically, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a dime is, no, one nickel is 2 dimes, so that's why they call it the dime backer, because you have one more. And I think apart from that is just the special teams. So special teams, you have like the, well, it may depend. So because sometimes on the special teams you have the kickoff, you have the field goal, you have the punt. You also have the, well, 2-point conversion. Normally you play with offense versus defense, but all the others you play like special teams. Even if the other I call special teams, so it could be that you have a special defense against the 2-point conversion, but normally the pure, at least, that have specialized positions are the ones I talked before. So starting with the punt, so you have four tries to try to get the 10 yards. If you don't, if you're too far further to kick a field goal, or you don't want to risk it, you punt it. So you kick it out to the other place, and so you have a specialized player who does that. It's a punter. So what happens is you have a long snapper, you also have a line, and so what happens is the long snapper snaps the ball, throws it to the punter, who picks up the ball and kicks it as far as he can, sometimes as not, because then you have, like, I say mismatches, because and you heard there sometimes, like, out-kicking the coverage. So what happens is if you out-kick your coverage is, for example, you kick so hard or so farther away that the opposition can pick up the ball, set up the blocks, and basically just come and do a good return, or even score, because they can score on a punt return. So normally what you want to do is not just kick. So you could just either kick to specific, like a coffin corner, so basically make it a very near the end zone, so they need to do almost the whole field. It's perfect. Some punters cannot do that, or sometimes you don't have time to set up to get it. But what you always need to get is distance and hang time, because if you get that, so when the ball gets in the air, then your guys will have time to go and set up their blocks and attacks, and since you cannot hold, you can just go and make the guy make a fair catch. Which, when you see he doing this and picks up the ball, that's a fair catch. He cannot move the ball forward. If he touches the ball and the ball goes to the ground, it's a live ball, so that everyone can pick it up, so even the punting team can score. So the punting team cannot score unless the opposition touches the ball. That is very important. So they are giving the possession away, so they cannot. So if they touch the play stopped at that position, and they will. The opposition will start from that area. Sometimes it's good. The ball is going out to the end zone, and if that happens, I think they start at the 25, 30, 35. Well, they keep changing the rule. I have to double check, but if it's almost going out, you touch it, and it counts as where you touch it. So makes it there, which is quite good. Of course, you cannot let it roll out of the end zone. You need to touch it and stop it there. So let's see now. And so the punter is also normally the holder when you do a field goal. So field goal is when you moved it 3 times, you have one more, but either you're not confident of getting the the remaining yards, and you just want 3 points. So it's the same thing. So you have the long snapper, which is like the center here, the offensive line, and the punter normally, well, the holder, which is normally the punter. Sometimes it isn't, but normally is the punter. So he snaps to the punter picks up the ball and gets the ball ready for the kicker to kick. So you probably see like Charlie Brown. Lucy is probably not a good holder, but that's it, like she's holding the ball for the kicker to kick, which in case Charlie Brown, well, always gets to fail the kick because Lucy takes the ball away. So now, so you have the kicker, who is the guy who kicks that, also does the kickoffs. Sometimes there's a specialist because some kickers are very accurate but they don't have a strong leg. So when you want distance, you have specialized kickers for that. Sometimes the punter does it. You can also kick like in rugby, so you can pick up the ball and kick between the posts, but it's very rare. They used to do it back in the day, but nowadays they just put it on the ground and kick it. So when you pick up the ball, for example, on a punt or on a kickoff, you're a returner. So normally there are specialized players who probably sometimes are not very good running routes or other stuff, but they're very good picking up the ball, very fast, very shifty, so good change of direction. And so sometimes they're used as a returner. Sometimes you have like these special guys who have positions, but they never play the positions. So if you see like a cornerback that doesn't play on defense, or a running back who doesn't play on offense, most of the times they're returner, or sometimes gunners. So returner is more on the offensive side of the special teams, and the gunners are the specialized but on the defensive. So the gunners are the guys who go and try and either stop the returner or make the returner lose the ball, stuff like that. So they're normally very fast and willing to tackle. So normally running backs and cornerbacks, safeties especially, do it. Sometimes linebackers. Sometimes you have some freak guys who play that position. And I think that's it for all the positions. It's, again, a very, very long video. I probably need to either to start breaking these out as smaller things, or just do offense, defense, and special teams. But I think you get an idea on the positions on the field. So maybe tomorrow I'll get a little bit more on some other stuff, either maybe a better explanation on the gaps and on the techniques like that offensive line and defensive line play, and maybe start going from there. Well, have a nice day, and see you tomorrow.